Welcome back to Dadnarok. This is Sean,
Hey, this is Chris.
and tonight we're talking about the final two episodes of season 2 of The Last of Us. Right?
Yeah,
I
we,
think.
we are. We delayed it because we needed a little bit of a break because I was not feeling it this season. Not in the least. I don't even think I was scared to hide that.
Well, last week you and I celebrated the 100th episode of our audio podcast, so we weren't on YouTube. We didn't show our pretty faces, but we did record our 100th episode of the audio podcast. If you haven't checked that out yet, go ahead and do that. It's me and Chris taking a look back at our very first podcast episode, the very first anything Dadnarok.
Yeah. And that was really fun. I wasn't sure how that would go over with us kind of listening and talking and pausing, and that was pretty fun. Right out the gate, that was pretty
Yeah.
fun.
But we are back to close out The Last of Us. We are Dadnarok. Join us on this channel. We got multiple things going on. We talk about TV shows. We talk about family stuff we've got going on. We talk about, right now, I'm doing a playthrough of Red Dead Redemption 2, one of my all time favorite games. It's going to be, if anybody knows that game, they know how long it is. So it's going to be,
A nice long
a while.
series.
Yeah.
And I'm having a good old time building the Hogwarts Express.
Yeah.
So I'm building them, and I'm doing them on YouTube Shorts. So I'm putting out a bunch of shorts on basically most of our platforms that we, have short form video. So
Are you
keep them
wearing
up.
shorts while you build the Legos?
I'm wearing shorts. I am. I'm drinking a butter beer. No.
Make sure to get those shorts on camera to entice the
Take a picture of my
female
shorts
viewers.
while
Yeah.
I'm doing it.
Yeah. Hey man, we gotta get them views.
They may be my boxer shorts. Who knows?
That's what I'm saying.
Oh man. Typically we start out with a bunch of family things and what's going on, but if it's good with you, I kind of want to jump into this and not really bury the lead.
Yeah, we got 2 episodes to talk about, and I don't know. It sounds like you've got some stuff on your mind. So
Let's start with this. Do 2 episodes make a good season? Like there's 7 episodes.
like
Do two good episodes rectify a season that in my mind has been hot garbage?
no, I don't think so. I don't think you could do some damage recovery for sure. It may affect the overall grade that you give for the season, but I don't think it would ultimately save it. Like you're not going to make, you're not going to turn it into an A+ season of television just with 2 episodes that are really good. Is that
Okay.
what your feelings are?
That's kind of what I'm thinking because there's still no context what is happening between the Scars and the Wolves. What happens on that island? I have no idea why that's happening. I know they're fighting factions, but
Yeah.
what's the real context between that? What's going on there? Uh, I liked that I think it was episode 6, the flashback episode,
Mhm.
where it goes year by year, like her Ellie's birthdays.
Yeah.
So it shows the very first one, and it's spelled Eli on the cage rather than Ellie. Then the dinosaur planetarium type setup, and
Right.
then the spaceship. And then all of a sudden we see things going sideways to where it was New Year's Eve in the fight, and then the whole
Yeah.
conversation on it. We were led to believe that Ellie knew, but they have finally showed us, Joel telling her what happened.
That whole episode was new. None of that was in the game. All that backstory, because in the game, when you get to Jackson, there is a time jump, and Ellie does feel that way towards Joel. But we're given, it's like she's a little older, she's rebelling, she's
Teenage
teenage,
angst.
that kind of thing. Yeah, it doesn't give a lot of reasons as to why she's so distant from him. And the show does a good job with this episode and this new story to really kind of fill in the gaps and explain exactly why she's so angry. Because I think that whole scene with Joey Pants, speaking of pants and shorts, Joe Pantoliano, that's playing. What's the character's name?
Oh, it was the
Uh,
psychologist's husband.
yeah, the therapist's husband. I forget the
Yeah, I
name.
don't remember exactly what
We're
his
bad
name
at
was.
this. But Joey Pants, I know the actor
As
from
soon
The
as I
Matrix and
thought
Bad Boys.
Woosah, Captain
Yeah,
Woosah.
Captain.
You
Um,
sunk a boat. How'd you sink a boat?
I which he was very good in that role for the small role that it was. But yeah, it gives a lot of backstory as to why exactly so did that episode let's take that episode first. That episode work for you?
That episode absolutely worked for me. I was shocked because originally I didn't know what I was going to think about it. When it started with Joel, when he was a kid, protecting his brother from his dad,
Yeah.
and then it went forward to where we were when I'm assuming when they were just barely in Jackson for very long, and they were kind
Y
of getting comfortable and everything. Uh, the behind the scenes though made it seem like the dinosaur portion of that took place in the game. Is that
Oh, yeah, so the museum trip that was really
okay?
the only part. The museum trip to the dinosaur and the whole space capsule thing, that was in the game. I forgot about that, but everything else as far as the backstory with them coming, across the Joey Pants character and, all the really a lot of the other stuff as far as just, like, her having the girl in the room,
Hmm.
in the bedroom that he kinda came on
Tattoo.
upon and her deciding to move into the garage, like, all that was, like, backstory.
Okay. And I did like the idea of why they jumped all the way back with Joel. Because it showed him kind of being like, almost like a hero type figure from the kid. From out the gate. It was his personality. He was always willing to take the drop for any other character and do make I don't know. But then like his dad said something like to the extent of do better than I did. And I thought
Yeah.
that was a good line that they carried forward to the last conversation that him and Ellie had.
Yeah, I think this episode was kind of a love letter to Joel and to Pedro Pascal and kind of like a goodbye, you know what I mean? Because it's
Yeah.
like he was so brutally taken out, what was that, the 1st or 2nd episode
It was
or
quick.
3rd? Yeah, it was quick into the season, and, he's been gone the last few episodes, and it was a way to, like, bring him back and really explore his character and give a nice send off because like you said there was a full circle there within the episode introducing him what his father told him and what he's telling Ellie, as a father figure, and just the performance wise just that final scene
Yeah, on the
where
porch.
Ellie's asking him about what happened with the fireflies and he's just like he can't even like vocalize it. Like, he's gotta,
He's
like,
just
nod and shake
nodding.
his head,
Yeah, he's
and he's, like, crying the whole time, like, that was whew, that was brutal.
yeah, him coming clean about the whole situation. And in reality, if you think about it, I don't think Ellie realizes it at the time, but it's like he couldn't let her die. Like he gave her up knowing that they were going to kill her for this possible cure. Not they were going to be able to make a cure. It was a possible thing. So it was all hypothetical. If she died, she could have died for nothing. And
Yeah,
and he,
she could have, but at the same time, it's like I was surprised. I agree with her that it's like Joel took that this whole episode really cemented the fact that Joel does what Joel thinks is best. You know
yeah,
what I mean? Joel it's kinda Joel's way or the highway. Like like here's the rules. Joey Pants is bitten. He agrees to Ellie. Hey, he's got time. We'll take him back to town so he could at least say goodbye to his wife. And he's like, "Yeah, we'll do that. I promise." And then he just walks him to the lake and shoots him in the back of the head. Like
but I
Joel, Joel's gonna do what Joel wants to do.
but I sympathize with that because that was the right decision to make. If there's rules in place for people not I don't think Jackson has survived the way Jackson has survived by people breaking the rules and bringing situations like that to their gates. So it's one of those he had to separate him, Ellie, and that other character, and that was the way he went ahead and did it, and that's how he justified it in his own head.
Yeah, but like Joel will break the rules when it's convenient for him. You know what I mean? Like Joel follows the rules. Oh, well, this is just the way it is. Like now if the thing was reversed and Joel's wife was in there and he got bitten and it was like, I need to see her face before I die. You damn well better know that Joel is heading back just to be outside the gates to look at his wife. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
this episode cemented the fact that not I mean to hindrance to a detriment or to positive or negative, whatever. But it's like definitely like as far as his character, Joel believes that he knows best and he moves forward with his actions despite what anybody else thinks. And that scene where he does save Ellie, from the fireflies is an instance of that very same thing. And Ellie even brings it back where she's like, when you told me that you wouldn't kill, Joey Pance's character, that we could go back, it was the same look in your eye that you had during the whole firefly thing. Like she,
That's when she
she,
knew he was lying. That's when it solidified to her
yeah.
that she knew he was lying just by that look.
And I get having rules and rules keep everybody safe, but their plan to bring him back, I mean, he knows that Ellie's not gonna get infected. If they stay outside the gates and he's tied up, like there's a small chance that something could happen, I guess, but like I don't know. I guess I get why Ellie was so upset with him, right?
Okay. What's the relevance? Now, is this game relevant or not? Or is this something they just did for the show? The holding his hand out, counting to 10.
I think I don't know if it was in the game or not, but or it might have even been in the show, but I think that's just a way that they see how far along you are in the process. Like, if the cordyceps is too far, like I don't think you'd be able to hold your hand
Hold your
out
hand
steady.
straight.
And you start to like lose faculties in your brain as far as like slowly counting from 1 to 10 might be difficult for you. So I think it was just a shorthand to show us like, oh no, he is actually okay for the moment, and they may have just enough time to see his wife again.
Okay.
um, that's what I felt it was anyway in this world.
Okay. Yeah. I mean, that whole episode, I enjoyed it. I loved the end. I liked the way that they really ended it was I don't think I can forgive you for this, but I want to try.
Yeah, I
And
was
that's
surprised by that.
that's the last thing she said to him before she's seen him basically get murdered right in front of her eyes.
Right. Yeah. That's heartbreaking. And then it cuts to her where we last left her in Seattle. And she's heading towards, I guess, the theater, but she's still in this place of danger, and you get more of an idea of exactly why she's pushing herself so hard to do this, to like make the sacrifice, make the hard call, make basically the same thing Joel would have done, like the wrong decision. As far as talking about safety, none of them should even be in Seattle right now.
Oh
If we're
yeah,
talking
no.
about like the betterment of the community and keeping Jackson safe, they're all
Well, Jesse
doing
called
the
her out
wrong
on that
thing. Yeah.
when they were up in that overlook when they heard the firing, which what they think was coming from Tommy, but
Mm,
she finds the whale essentially leading her to the aquarium to
right.
know where Abby is, and then they have that argument, right there, and she leaves. They both go separate directions.
Yeah. That was the second episode. What? So, scale of 1 to 10, how'd you like that first episode? Episode 6.
I would put that up in the 7 or 8. That
Yeah.
was I had my phone in my hand early, and it went down. And that's how I gauge life. If you can keep me engaged and you keep me like enjoying it, like I don't like. I think my biggest gripe about the season was I don't care about teenage angst. I don't care if I hate you. I don't care. I just that none of that drew me in.
Yeah.
That's when I started picking up my phone. It's like I just don't care about this. The later in the episode when that stuff started picking up, that's when I kind of was starting to tune it out a little bit. But as a whole, it had me. So I think that was my most enjoyable episode of the season.
See, even that stuff, I always kind of like went back to just the characterization of it all. I mean, like I felt it was, yeah, it is. Some of it is kind of standard teenage angst kind of stuff, but you're also thinking about the world they're living in with the apocalypse, the dangers, and then Joel and Ellie's specific relationship and their characters. Like Ellie was she was a child. I mean, she was like a precocious and like always surrounding herself in danger child, but she was very young, or like at least a lot younger in that first movie or that first season and game. And then like seeing her grow up, but also like imagining it from Joel's perspective, like he never got to see his daughter, his actual daughter,
Grow up.
pre-apocalypse, grow into that stage, right? She was probably maybe 13, 14, 15, right around that age that Ellie is like growing out of. That's what I really appreciated, them spending that time to show that relationship kind of almost deteriorate over that time. because in the beginning where he takes her to the museum, it's very, like, good fatherly stuff, and she's looking at him with loving eyes and just, like, the kind of relationship that you would want, the kind that I'm sure he remembers having with his first daughter back, pre-apocalypse, and then seeing that kind of, like, unspool over time with reason, I thought it was just very interesting, like, even though it is, like, teenage angsty stuff, at least in this episode, we get more and it's fleshed out, you know what I mean?
Yeah, we
It's
get
not
the
just kinda
background of what
rote
happened.
stuff. Yeah.
Okay,
Okay,
yeah.
so last season or last episode, the final episode of the season, scale of 1 to 10, just as a preview. We'll talk about the episode, but just a preview, what's the number for that?
This one was more 6, 7. This was lower. I enjoyed this one less than the episode 6, the penultimate
Yeah.
one. That one I enjoyed more. This one here, I just liked the flushing out of Jesse. I
Mhm.
liked flushing. I have always enjoyed the characters of Jackson more than the main characters of Joel and Ellie.
Yeah.
And I'll throw Dina in that. Dina, I enjoyed. Jesse, Tommy, that whole lot of them. I enjoyed them a lot more. So when they were, you know, in this episode a lot more, when Jesse comes out, he's always saving her ass. She
Yeah,
even
yeah.
points it out. He's popped in multiple times and pulled her out of really difficult situations.
Right.
So hearing their back and forth, and finally hearing him say he was a no on this, she assumed he was a yes.
Right.
And when she finally finds out she was a no, but then they talk about community. Like Joel was her community. He's always doing what's best for his community type situation, which was an interesting, argument going back and forth. So this one here, Dina getting shot in the leg by the crossbow,
Yeah.
and then the conversation between Ellie and Dina, the truth coming out about
Mhm.
why they're there, and then seeing Dina's reaction to what's going on. Her first one was like, "We need to go home."
Yeah,
She's like, "We just
right.
need to get out of here. We're not here for the right reason. We need to go."
Yeah.
Situation.
Yeah, it's crazy, and, that conversation I like too with Ellie and Jesse later, where Jesse totally clocked the situation with Gina being pregnant and, because that's what I like, they give us a lot of Jesse, and I knew this was coming, then he just gets popped in the head at the very end of
Oh, you
the
knew he was gonna
episode.
die?
Well, this is where he dies in the, video game,
Oh, damn. Okay.
and that it happens right then, like, just before they were about to leave this theater that they've been staying in. That's when Abby shows up, and that's how we ultimately leave this episode.
I was like, "Damn." I was
Yeah,
like, "Oh, that took me." That one, like I said, the Joel ones was spoiled for me. I just didn't know when it was happening.
right.
That one there, the Jesse death, I had no idea was coming.
Any thoughts around, the Wolves or the, Scar people, that ongoing war?
I don't give two rats asses. I just don't care.
Yeah,
It's like they're, the B plot of a show that the A plot is struggling with me. So it's like,
yeah,
I mean, I'd almost put the B plot as C or D plot because, yeah, they keep on kind of bouncing in on it. We see things with Isaac and we see things with them, on the water and going to this island. Apparently, this island is where the Scars, their town and they're held up at. And when you look back, there's explosions on there. They gave us nothing. Us newbies to this show, we have no context still 2
yeah,
seasons in of what's going on with these two. Now I know it's last season, it has nothing to do with season 2. This is a game 2 thing, but I don't know what's going on. I don't care what's going on. I know this little kid wanted to off Ellie. I mean, because she washed up on shore,
I
and
know, it
she,
reminded me of Children of the Corn or something.
I mean, that was pretty gruesome. But I mean, all Ellie really knows what's going on is that there's a warring factions. She wanted to save that one that was, in that alley area where her and Jesse were,
Yeah,
and Jesse held her back. And said, this essentially, I think his wording was, "This isn't our war. We need to
mhm,
we need to save ourselves and get out of here." Type situation,
yeah,
which makes a lot of sense. But yeah, I don't care about
yeah.
any of that.
Yeah, I think it's tough because it's like they spend a lot of time. It's weird because it's like they spend a lot of time with this group, like Isaiah and the Wolves and the Scars, and like kind of explaining who they are and what they're about. When ultimately, like if they're just a backdrop, to what the like you said, the A plot is. Because it's like you would think with this big war going on, this basically looks like a big battalion from the Wolves heading towards the home island or wherever the Scars are kind of ultimately stationed, right?
Yeah.
And it looks like a conflict is coming where this maybe thing is coming to a crescendo, right? And we just see that in the distance. Like we're not even paying any attention to it because ultimately it's just like a background backdrop for our main characters. And it gives us a little inkling into Abby's character. It's so funny because it's like Abby is like non-existent, but also kind of hovering around the scenes. Like people talk about Abby.
Hmm.
Ellie's goal is to get to Abby. We learned that Abby is like kind of a chosen leader for the future, but she ditched us. So what does that mean? So it's like we get all this talk surrounding Abby, and then finally she pops at the very last scene. Only which, to be fair, next season we're gonna get a lot more Abby, but the pacing is weird because in the Last of Us 2 game, you were able to just keep playing. You know what I mean? It was a long story that kind of went timey-wimey here and there, jumped back and forth. Like at the very end of this episode, it goes back to Seattle day 1 as opposed to the day 3 that we were on.
Okay.
And you'll see, basically Abby's side of the story.
And that's what I think we're getting next season. Day 1 Seattle when they show it. They show the inside of Lumen Field,
Yeah.
which I thought was a pretty cool, just position there.
Yeah, it's cool and it's I think it was cool in the game to be able to do that, but to have this break, I don't know how it works as far as just like having this long hiatus between the end of season 2 and beginning of season 3. Like is that enough of a cliffhanger for
No,
people to join back in?
no,
No,
not at
huh?
all. I'll speak for myself, but okay, okay. So my household. Let's put it this way: season 1, my wife and I watched every episode 9 o'clock. We couldn't wait for it to come out.
Yeah.
This season rolled around. We were out 9 o'clock. We were watching. Week 2, we were watching. Week 3, I started noticing she's got her tablet up and her phone up. She's not paying attention. My phone's in my hand. The final 2 episodes, she tapped out. Didn't even watch.
Yeah.
Not even interested. So I know season 3 rolls around 2-3 years from now. Who got godly knows? She's gonna have no interest whatsoever. I don't. I don't know. I mean, if we sit right now, if I'm sitting right now, if I'm like, did episode 7 do enough for me to check out episode 1 of season 3?
Yeah.
My honest answer is probably yes. I think it may have done enough for me to check out that and keep going. Do I know if I want to, commit to what we're doing here for a season 3? I don't know, because by the time we got close to the end of the show, I even told you, I said, "Oh, I got to watch 2 episodes." Oh man, that's such a drag. Like I wasn't looking
Yeah.
forward to it. So
Yeah, I feel that too for sure.
I'm not a person that likes watching something, and I guess for a bit, not lack of a better way of saying it, hate watching something.
Yeah.
If I just don't like what I'm watching, I just tap out and I just stop watching. I did it. I mean, for instance, the most recent example for me would be Daredevil. I watched episode 1, maybe 2, and then I never went back to it. So, I mean, we'll see, because it left it on. Okay, let's talk about the ending. I
Yeah.
don't know if you. I think because it has to kind of go in line with the game a little bit. I would think, 'cause if not Joel, but the Jesse death was in line with it. I'm assuming that ending was similar to a part of the game. Is that right?
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay. Do you want to tell me if I'm right or if I'm wrong? I think the shot came from Dina. I don't think Ellie's dead. I don't think anyone that we've seen the camera on is dead. I think a shot came from outside of a character that we've seen in the shot. Am I off base or am I close?
I don't really remember because I don't maybe this was played as a cliffhanger. Maybe they did do this specifically where you hear a shot and then it goes back to Abby and then you see Abby's point of view. I think the game did something very similar in that exact scene, and then we don't learn about what actually transpired in the theater until long after. Like, we're not gonna see the fates of this moment until a few episodes in, unfortunately,
So
into season
that may
3.
be essentially the end. Because if we're going to go back and learn a lot about
Well,
Abby now,
no.
No.
there's a lot more. You do get to it. I'm saying, like, maybe 2nd or 3rd episode, we'll see what happened at
Okay, then
once
that
you get the backstory.
and then that pretty much I mean, with that you telling me, that pretty much tells me that I don't think Abby or Ellie would die if there's that much more to go.
Do you want me to tell you who lives in the game? Now, this may change, I don't know. You don't care, do you?
I see, listen, the Jesse death hit for me,
Yeah,
but it hit because, like I said, I cared for everybody within Jackson, and he was a Jackson character.
right.
Even that dirtbag, ex-cop bartender,
Seth.
that yeah,
I
that
actually
jumped up.
remembered a name.
Yeah, even his character when Joel gave him the Legos, I'm guessing for the tape recording of one of the space missions. Now I think was led to be led on.
Oh, yeah, it could be.
Yeah,
That and
that
the
he
cake.
yeah. So oh no, it's cake because he said if you can make it vanilla.
Right,
But
right.
anyway, even that character. So the characters within the community. So if I don't know what's going to happen, no, don't tell me. I
Okay,
talked
I
about
won't.
what I don't want to know. I would rather not know because the Joel death did nothing for me, and I think you're onto something, Sam, because I knew it was coming.
Let me give you a little tidbit of information that just learned and thought was a little interesting. So, the season 1 finale
All the
got,
ratings,
like, in
yeah,
ratings,
beat me
got,
to it.
like, 8 almost 8.5 million views, right?
Mhm.
The season 2 opener got, like, 5.5 million views, and so there's a drop off between basically, people were just, like, into it for the 1st season and weren't interested in coming back, right? And then between the opening of season 2 and the finale of, season 2, it dropped, like, another 2 million. So, for the finale, it was, like, at 3.5,
Yeah, I think I've seen something
million
like
views.
55% viewer drop off from season
Yeah.
one to season two.
Yes,
But
and
you
that
called
makes
that
sense to
though,
me. Yeah.
because you were like the divisiveness in the game from one and two, and if half the people left, that holds true to that divisiveness, and then it also holds to people like me, like what? And then there's probably people on the exact opposite coin of me. Because if you're telling me 50%, there's someone that exactly opposite of me are saying they have no idea what's going on, but they love it. And I'm like, I don't know what the hell's happening. Why should I enjoy this if you're not, you know, bringing me in?
I do think there's a lot of people, me included, I would count myself in this group, where they find the story of the 2nd game and the story of season 2 far more interesting than the story of season 1. Even though season 1 is kinda classic and, like, our introduction to these characters and really great on its own, I like that the plot gets more complex. I like that the story asks you all these questions about morality and seeing different sides of the same thing. I like that it does that. I think a lot of viewers that stuck with the 2nd game and the season 2 are kinda on that same boat. Now, what I will say, though, is that between season 2 finale and season 3 opening, are we gonna see another half drop off? Like, I just see the ratings and the viewership kinda dwindling as we slowly progress.
This is a 3-season show.
Yeah.
At one point, people were like, this is a cash cow. After season one, they're just gonna make more, they're gonna make spinoffs, they're gonna see things here and there. If it's dropping the way it's dropping, there's no way HBO is gonna continue. Definitely if this is a high dollar show. They showed some of the making of the show afterwards,
Yeah.
and all the water stuff that was done in all three forms: green screen, dry dock, and water.
Oh, wow.
They did all three of 'em. It's like when Bella Ramsey is actually like crawling out of the ocean.
Yeah.
They did that. That was all live action in an ocean, climbing up onto the beach like that. So it's the dollar amount behind the production's got to be astronomical.
Oh,
So
for sure, and just like the sets and the actors, and there's probably not I don't know how much CG is involved, but the fact that I can't tell where the CG ends and where the practical
mhm,
effects begins means that it's quality CG.
yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's like, yeah, there's a high production cost, and the actors besides. I mean, Pedro Pascal he's gotta be demanding a pretty heavy paycheck these days
Oh
for
yeah, no, he
whatever
wasn't
project he's
cheap,
in.
and I don't think Bella Ramsey is really cheap either.
No, yeah, I mean, I'm hoping she gets paid because I think they go by they, but Bella Ramsey, they have been, like, just been dumped on by the internet for the
Yeah.
last, like, this entire year, this season, about her looks or her portrayal of Ellie or this or that, just, like, kinda bullshit things. I think as a scene partner for Joel, as a scene partner for Dina, as a scene partner
Mhm.
for Jesse, she's been fantastic. I think Bella Ramsey, like, I've never been taken out of a scene because, oh, I Bella Ramsey's acting is like I've
Yeah,
believed
never.
her. Yeah. So, I've really enjoyed it. That being said, though, there's gonna be 0 Pedro Pascal in season 3
Yeah,
of this
that
show.
was his swan song. That episode
Yeah.
6 was his swan song. We didn't even talk about this yet. What'd you think about, the death of those 2 other, accomplices inside the actual aquarium, where all she wanted was to know where,
Oh, yes.
what's her name was, and they
Yeah.
refused to, and the dude pulled a gun, and she just let one fly and caught him and the woman behind her, and then the woman, unbeknownst to her, the woman behind her was pregnant.
I think it's just good writing. It's like, this is the path that you've chosen, right? I mean, like, you chose revenge, and this is the kind of shit that's gonna unspool because of your choice. Like, it would have been the better choice. That's why episodes ago, when Dina and Ellie are like haven't run into anything yet, and they're still kind of outside Seattle, and they're like, "Should we go? Should we do this?" And Dina's like, "Hell yeah, I'm like doing it." I just wanted to scream to them, just like, "Go back to Jackson. Just go back to Jackson.
Yeah.
No good is gonna come from this." And I think that scene really messes appropriately with Ellie's head, where I don't know if she begins, but it's gotta be pushing her regret even further and further, because it's like the pregnant girl on Abby's side is kinda like the mirror image of Dina,
Dina, yeah.
on Ellie's side. It's like you can't help but think like,
This whole thing mirrors itself
"Mhm, yeah,
from both sides. The exact same thing's happening.
yeah."
Father figure dies. Dina's pregnant. Her friend, the other girl was pregnant. She died. Jesse died. The other dude is now dead. That was with her in the aquarium. So
Yeah, and that's what, kind of the theme of the second game was. It's an exploration in revenge and what that means, the morality of it,
is
the
there a good guy
perspective
in
of
this?
things.
Is there anyone
No.
to truly pull for? Because I'm watching the show and I'm like, my gut wants to say I want to pull for Ellie because she's on the same side with Dina, with Tommy, was with Jesse. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? That aspect. And we don't see them going beyond and hurting another faction. But we know what Ellie is capable of and what Ellie has done.
Yeah. That's the thing, it's just like it's not as simplistic as, like, good guy, bad guy, which they kinda touched on in the first game too. Joel had somewhat of a weird morality himself. By the time we get to him, he's like father figure Joel, but he had a kind of a seedy past in between his 2 daughters, you know what I mean? Like, he had some things going on with him, and I think this game and this season really explores, like, yeah, like, are the Scars really the bad guys compared to the Wolves? Are, Ellie versus Abby? It's just like nobody's really like an antagonist or protagonist or good guy or bad guy. It's just different sides. You know what I mean? It's like you're either on the one side or the other, and you're up against another side for, whatever reason. It's kind of like that scene that Isaiah was in the kitchen where he was torturing that guy,
Burning the guy with the pot
and he was
in the
like,
can.
"Yeah,
Yeah.
like, you went back on the agreement or we did or they did, it doesn't even matter, like, who cares? I don't wanna talk about the bull," because it's like, they're just like it's been going on so long that nobody even knows how this
What
thing
actually started the
started.
whole situation.
Yeah, that it's just kind of like but that's what happens, like, revenge just escalates and escalates and escalates and escalates until somebody decides to stop. You know what I mean? And stopping for Ellie would mean turning around, and it's just a shame because it's like by the time she gets to that point and they are about to turn around and go back to Jackson, that's where Abby gets the drop on her, and it's just like you're just like, forehead smack, and that's kinda where we are right now.
I'm trying to think of anything else that I can really dig into about the episode.
I thought it was really well done. I think the series as a whole is really well done. It's funny, it's definitely premiere television. between the acting, the production, the story, I think is well told, and it's enough to keep it interesting. Like I feel all those things, but I also understand the reaction you've had, kind of being checked out or not being totally invested. And I don't know if that's a limitation of the length of the story. We're not talking about like The Walking Dead had, 20, 25 episodes a season to get you invested in characters. You
Hmm.
know what I mean?
That may be it. 7 episodes. I think season one had nine. So we were two shorter in season two. But
Yeah.
such short seasons lead to me not caring about characters. So if it's going to be a
Yeah.
TV show, a movie can make me care about a character in an hour and a half, 2 hours, 2.5 hours.
Right.
That format, they can make it work. But when you're going to be a TV show and you're telling me a long form story, you have more time. So if you don't get me caring for those characters, I think you have failed me as a viewer of not knowing this product, this IP, and I don't know what else or how to move on from there. And
And you
that's something I was struggling with.
and you know what's funny is that I know for sure that this isn't not the first time that we've had this exact discussion, like, outside of this show. Like, we've talked about this for other shows too, like, the difference between a 2-hour movie and a 20-episode television show, and this weird streaming environment that's kind of, like, trying to do
Condensement
both at the
thing.
same
Yeah.
time, where it's like a 6 to 8 to 10-hour movie, where it's like you really don't spend enough time with the characters to really invest in the characters, but also, like, the plot is too, intricate to really tell in a 2-hour time frame. So you would think that you'd be able to balance those 2 things and meet somewhere in the middle and have something satisfying, but more and more when I see examples of how TV is these days, it's streaming, where a show is like 6 to 8 to 10 episodes, the more and more I'm coming away with being just like not as happy as I would have been watching a longer TV show or a shorter movie.
Yeah.
It's weird.
Yeah. It is a weird dynamic that's going on right now. 'Cause the first thing that came to mind when you mentioned, intricate, storytelling, Game of Thrones on
Mhm.
HBO.
Yeah.
So I went into that knowing absolutely nothing
Yeah.
about that, IP. And the first, what, 20 minutes of that? Because I think they gave us a 20-minute like teaser before they even released it. It was like when they were going north of the wall and everything.
Right, yeah.
And that was enough for me to care about those characters, to be pumped to watch more about that, of that show. And
Yeah.
every week I was watching it. Like I anticipating watching. I couldn't wait to watch it.
Yeah.
Why could one show do that on that platform, but another not? I mean, granted, we're different showrunners, different, storytellers, but I just
I don't know, maybe it was just like it was enough episode because back then it would before, like, the final season and final seasons of Game of Thrones, they were like 10 I think they were like 10 episodes per season. So you had a higher episode count each season leading up to the finale. Plus you had, the production and all that stuff and, like, the everything built on each other. Like, you're invested in a character, invested, and then they're gone. And then but you start to grow invested in this other character, and then you're worried about if they're gonna go. Like, keeping you on your toes as far as, like, you not knowing who's gonna live, who's gonna die, and, I think the higher episode count and the longer season length too. I mean, it's just like there were, what, 7 seasons of that show
something down those lines, yeah.
versus the 3 that we're gonna get of this show. So, yeah, I think it's hard. It's a weird formula to try to, like, crack the code on, and I don't think anybody's really when they set out to make these shows, I don't know if they know if it's gonna be success or not.
Oh yeah, no, they're hoping.
Yeah,
They're really hoping. And season one really felt like they hit it out of the park. And I'm curious if they really knew the dynamic and the angst with season two, and with well the second game, that they
right.
knew that was really going to be a challenge going into this season, knowing that half the fans are going to check out just because they didn't like that second game.
I would be interested to hear the creator's thoughts on that very thing. I wonder if he's done any interviews or anything because I think there had to be some kind of hesitation with how divisive the story of the second game was into, okay, now we're gonna adapt that into a TV show. Like, they had to know, and I mean, to be fair, he did a few things here and there different, but overall, like, the story wasn't different enough to not be divisive, you know? So, yeah, I'm curious where this thing goes. I don't know, did they even announce when season 3 is gonna be coming?
I think they said production is already starting, so
Mm,
we're looking year and a half before we get the next. Honestly, they should have just shot it all together.
yeah, they should've.
Frankly, they should have just shot it all together. It would save money, yada 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 yada. They already knew it was already greenlit. Why not shoot it all the way together and then have it ready to go a year from the premiere? I'll
Right.
space it out the year, like just like everything else used to be, and it's okay. Say this time next year, we'll be able to conclude the story. But
Or even 6 months. Like, the way because this is coming from a singular story from one game, you know what I mean?
mm,
They coulda done the Stranger Things did or what some because Netflix does this sometimes where they release, like, part of a season, and then, like, 3 months later, they
yeah,
release the second part of the season. I think they shoulda done that because I'm worried that the span of time between when we're gonna see the premiere of season 3 and now it's just too much. I mean, you're gonna lose a lot more viewers because who's gonna come back? Like, it's not strong enough to be like, "Oh, here comes season 3 of Last of Us," you know?
yeah. We weren't looking forward to it like Game of Thrones was coming back or Sopranos was coming back.
Right.
Just the name too. So I'm in for at least episode one.
Yeah.
I don't know
Are
if
you sure?
No, I'm not.
I may be covering it myself.
What might up happening is I'm gonna be like, hey, dude, what actually did happen in that end scene? I'm
Yeah.
like, just let me know because I don't know if I care enough. But what winds up happening is I watch enough of this YouTube stuff like we're doing right here, and it starts getting my hype up a little bit more and higher than what it was ever at any point. Then I'll sit down and watch. I'm like, oh, that's right. This is how I felt about the show. But I mean, that's it for me. Honestly, I don't want to say anything more negative about the show. Season one was fantastic. Season two just didn't do it for me at all, and that sucks because I was looking forward to it. And there's a myriad of reasons why I think it didn't do it for me. Mainly because I don't know the IP, which meant I had no actual, you know, connection to anything. There was a lot of things happening that I didn't know what was going on. Yada
Yes.
yada yada. Uh, what is your dying words about the season?
Bleh.
Well, there was one thing that led on that they didn't give us any more about. The
What's that?
cordyceps in the air.
Right. Well, yeah, I think it's located in the basement of
It's in the
that.
basement of the hospital, but I mean, I don't think it's airtight. But anyway,
And honestly, I forget if that plays more of a role later anyway. Honestly, in the game, it was just kind of a game mechanic for Ellie to be able to traverse spaces that the
other
wolves
people
and the
couldn't.
scars couldn't. Yeah. So, that's what it was. As far as my opinion, I like this show. Um, but I understand why some people it's not clicking with them. It's weird because it's like this is prestige television, and in reality, it should have all the ingredients to bake the cake of a show that's 10 out of 10, that's firing on all
Mhm.
cylinders, that's beloved. But there's just something about it that's not hitting with a lot of people, and I get it. Like I'm not gonna shit on the show. I don't think anybody's doing a bad job on the show. I think it's just one of those things where I don't maybe this wasn't the right story to bring to television, you know what I mean? Like, maybe it was a very, good story for the medium that was
Did
in
they
video
always
games.
have season 2, game 2 greenlit? Was that always do you think that was always the plan? Or was it greenlit after season 1 did so great?
It was the season 2 always greenlit?
Yeah.
Oh, I think so. Yeah, I think so because, um, I don't know. I feel like they just poured a ton of money into season 1. I don't that's a tough question. I think so, probably, because the chances of season 1 tanking were pretty low. Because just with the amount of that first game is beloved by 10 out of 10 people, you know what I mean? Not 5 out of 10.
Yeah.
So I think there's a lot more hype around that first season. So they knew that they had an 80-90% chance that that first season was gonna hit, right? And you have from there, it's like you have to move forward, but, I don't know. And the further away we get from that hype of season 1, the more and more I'm just like, "Who's even tuning in?" I mean, I'll watch it, but
Yeah,
I don't know if anybody else is.
it starts to become lost.
Yeah. Yeah, kinda.
Okay, well, guys, I think that's our post mortem of The Last of Us season two. There was something, I mean, kind of getting full circle because we said we typically start with our family stuff. I had jury duty last week, and I thought I was
Yeah.
gonna have jury duty, and I got the notification on a Saturday for I think it was either Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm like, what kind of freaking notification is that?
Yeah.
So I call them. I don't have to go. The jury was pushed off.
Oh,
But
that's good.
off camera, I told you this, and then you hit me with something that I don't think I've ever heard. You had jury duty for a murder trial?
I did. I pulled jury duty, a week in 2017. I was forced to, not be at work for those days, and honestly, there were a few days where even though they let us go at, like, noon, I didn't go back to work. But it's like I got paid, like, $12 a day from jury duty,
Oh, you're
and my
right.
job at the time was only paying me, like, half my salary. And yeah, so anyway, the first day or 2, I was just sitting in the jury pool, this big room where you're just with a bunch of people. This is pre-COVID, so there were no masks or anything, but we were just, like, sitting arm to arm, you're so close with the people next to you, just waiting to be called. You have a number, and then your number gets called with another group, and they sit you down, and they ask you these questions, like, "How do you feel about so and so?" Like, they pick you, like, you're maybe with sitting in a maybe 40 other jurors in the actual courtroom, and they start going one by one. They kinda, like I guess they visually see who they wanna pick, like, maybe that would be a good juror for my defense, or maybe that would be a good juror for the prosecution, right? They take turns. The defense and the prosecution take turns picking jurors. At least this is how it worked in my experience. I got called, and I think, they questioned me about, police or something, and I gave kind of like a right down the middle answer. I was like, "Well, I think, ultimately some police maybe have too much authority, but that at the end of the day, they try to do their best." Just something
Yeah,
middle of the road.
generic.
Yeah, and I guess it was good enough to,
Satisfy both sides.
yeah, get picked. So I was like one of 12. And it was a murder trial. This guy, I forget the name of, not that I would not that I would air it out there anyway. It was in 2017. That's the only information I'm gonna give about it. But yeah, there was this young black male on trial, and at the end of the day, they went through all the different evidence, which was not much. It was all kind of circumstantial. There was not really even a lot of like eyewitness accounts of the incident. There was just kind of a dead guy in the street. It happened, kind of in a, of course, worse end of town here in Louisville. And it was, I mean, it was totally interesting to be like, it was like I was watching an episode of the first 48 in real time, like, and being
Yeah,
a part of like that whole thing, the back and forth of the prosecution, then the defense. Ultimately, when both sides had rested their case, the jurors were sent back to deliberate, and it only took us maybe an hour or 2 to really kinda come to the conclusion to where it's like, yeah, the guy probably did it, but there was just not enough evidence to put him away for it. Like, in my heart of hearts, like, it's innocent until proven guilty,
yeah,
the onus is on the prosecution to prove that that person is guilty of that crime, not the other way around, you know? And that's how luckily, that's how the rest of the jury felt too. We were just like, yeah, it's crazy. This happened in, like, a summer evening, like 6, 7 p.m. in the summertime in an area, in a part of town where people would have been out and about. A Saturday night during the middle of summer in a town, like in a part of town that, like, you and I used to live in, like, in
yeah,
Mulberry Street, you know what I mean? Like, that's hopping. Like, people are out, people are on their porches, people are walking down the sidewalk to the corner store, and for no eyewitnesses to come up and be like, "Oh, yeah, it was him. I saw him." Like, it was just weird, and the cops didn't have any, like, cell phone data or anything that they could pinpoint him on, so it was just like, as jurors, we kind of threw our hands up like we just don't have enough
You
evidence
didn't
to
prove
convict.
anything to me.
The police and the prosecution just didn't have enough to prove it. So yeah, that was wild to be a part of that and to kind of follow the news story. And of course, like it was just a blip on the local news that night, and that was the last we ever heard. I think they interviewed like the victim's mother, and that kind of stuff is tough because it's like ultimately you were a part of that decision, but that's just the way. And it made honestly, it gave me a lot of inspiration to like be part of the larger picture because I was working just kind of a sales job at that point, and I was like, man, this is so interesting to be a part of this whole like bigger picture thing, right? Like be a
Yeah.
part of a jury or be in a courtroom, and that's when I started to get interested in doing 911 dispatch. And ultimately that didn't pan out and I went back to sales. And luckily I'm in a place now where I enjoy being at.
Hold on, pause. How did you ever get into 911 dispatch?
No,
Did
no,
you ever
I
never even
I
tried?
took
It's like, hold
tests.
on. How much of you do I not know? Come on.
This was around the same time, maybe 3 months later. I was so, like, jazzed into, like, starting something new that I took the test here to do 911 dispatch for, LMPD, but, because I didn't have any previous experience doing it, like, I couldn't get in. Like, you have to it's weird, it's like you have to have experience in, like, a smaller division before you can graduate up to LMPD. So if that was the case, I don't know how I even got into test to begin with, but, like, I was good enough to, like, move on, but that they saw that I didn't have any prior
You were
experience,
green.
and they were like, "Sorry, it's not gonna happen," which I was, like, upset at the time, but, yeah, it's just something I was in severe like, really interested in at a time, and it just, didn't pan out.
That's crazy. I'm like, I'm sitting here listening to the story. I'm like, okay, no way do I ever remember any of this being told to me. But then
Yeah,
again, it was in 2017. Zach
right.
was only a year old. You know,
You were a little busy, you were a newborn father,
I
yeah.
was freshly married. I mean, we still had the new married smell on us. So yeah, there
Mhm.
was a lot going on. But wow, that's fun. No, I've had nothing that I've been called multiple times now and never once had to report. I've been juror 46. They called the first 45 to actually report. I got out. I was like, how the hell did that happen? And then I've had this happen twice now where I've had to call the day before and didn't have to report. So one of these days, I'm gonna get tied up in a month-long freaking trial that I'm gonna have no way out of. I'll be staying in a freaking Marriott somewhere, like you said, getting fed peanut butter jellies that slipped under my door.
I think we had Jimmy John's delivered, they took care of us.
Yeah, I've been dating. Come on.
Yeah, we weren't sequestered though or anything, luckily. It was just 5 days where we got to go home at the end of the day, and, I really enjoyed my experience. Like, if people, like, are so despondent about jury duty, I enjoyed my time. Although being said, like, if it was a longer stay and if I had to be sequestered, then I probably would have different feelings on it. But yeah, my mom pulled jury duty last month, and she got out of it. The same thing happened where it's like, I think it was around a holiday or something, or I don't know what happened, but like she ended up not having to go a lot of the days. And ultimately, like her time was gone without her being picked for anything. So,
For me, it was only
um,
one day. I
yeah,
had to
wow.
I had to call to see if I had to report. The message was like, the trial has been moved.
Yeah.
Your services have been rendered for a year's time. I'm like, wow, okay, that's simple.
Yeah. So that was my jury duty experience. Thanks for
uh,
bringing it up.
yeah, that's a fun story for this. I mean, that's what this show's about. Give me some good.
Now the internet knows about it.
Give me the juice.
Yeah.
um, it's a holiday weekend. Did you do anything this weekend?
We grilled out. I did burgers Saturday. I did ribs yesterday, and then tonight we did pork chops. We celebrated my aunt's son, well, my cousin through marriage, his birthday. His birthday is always around Memorial Day, so we always do it Memorial Day weekend. It was just a nice long weekend. My daughter had a friend over last night, and now we're just gearing up to go back into thing. We had planned. We wanted to see Lilo and Stitch, but that's probably not going to be until next weekend.
Dude, that movie was fantastic.
Better than the animated one.
No, separate them.
Okay. Okay.
Separate the two. The
Yeah.
animated one is the animated one. The live action one is as good.
Okay.
Skylar went. She had her Stitch onesie on with a Stitch
Yeah.
slippers. So she's walking into the theater with a Stitch shirt on underneath her, so she gets a little warm. She got unzip. People are looking and, just kind of pointing her out. So she became the mascot in the theater.
Yeah.
She watched it. She's laughing. I'm enjoying it. There were some little changes in it that, I noticed. I don't know the movie like the back of my hand.
Right.
Skylar does. But there was, when it comes to live action remakes, yeah, Stitch is animated, but the rest of it's live action.
Yeah.
I think it's my favorite. I,
Oh,
I
okay.
I don't even think it's close. Like, I think Aladdin's pretty good, but I've got some, like, I can't with Aladdin because I've got such a connection to the
Right.
animated one that
Yeah.
I have a hard time with the Aladdin. I did enjoy it the one time I watched it, but I've never revisited. This one here, I can see being replayed in my house over and over and over and over again.
Now that we're done with The Last of Us, as far as the channel goes, and maybe this is a conversation for not while we're on the air, but what what do you see as I would like to maybe because we're heading into the summer blockbuster movie. I think this is the official first
This is how
weekend
the
of summer
sausage is
movie
made.
weekend. Yeah. Um, if I see Lilo and Stitch next weekend, maybe we can hop on and do
We
a
got to
full
hop
discussion
on
on that.
a movie I'm looking forward to. F1.
Really, I haven't even watched the trailer on that
It's
yet.
on, the trailer is on Apple TV.
Yeah.
That looks phenomenal. Now, I went and I watched was it Forza? I don't know. It was one of the race car video games that took a gamer
Gran
and,
Turismo?
yeah,
Yeah.
and went ahead and put him in the car. And I was way late to that movie,
Yeah.
but I love that movie. That was so much fun. This here looks like that movie on steroids.
Oh, yeah.
I
I heard
mean,
it was really well shot.
well, the directors from Top Gun Maverick
Okay, yeah.
and all the, like, the mechanics and everything of what they had, the cameras in the jet and in the actual cockpit, they
Mhm.
used those concepts on an F1 car.
Oh, sweet.
So you're getting a lot of that and a lot of actual racing, like, dynamics. So the trailer had me hooked. Like, I've heard a lot of good things about it. The trailer had me. So, okay, that's probably my next one of my next ones in the theater.
I think next episode of Dadnarok, next time we sit down, you and I, we go through the summer movie list, talk a little bit about what we're excited to buy, what we think is gonna totally crap the bed, and, kinda go over that. That might be a fun episode to
No,
do.
I think that will be, well, how I'll say it, next week's episode, the
Yeah, there you
summer
go.
blockbuster season.
Yeah, we're into it. Summer's coming.
That's about all I've got this week. What do you think?
Yeah, so that's gonna be it. Stay tuned for that conversation about summer movies. Of course, we'll go ahead and I'm continuing to upload the Red Dead Redemption 2 playthrough as I'm playing through it. I think another episode premieres Wednesday. Chris will continue building his Hogwarts Express.
Once I'm done with Hogwarts, I have okay. I've got a problem. I'll be the first one to admit it to everybody. I have a backlog of Legos now. I've got the Mandrake that I've got
Yeah.
next to build. I've got the Pixar lamp that releases here in a couple days, already ordered. That's gonna be coming. Uh, I've got some botanical ones for my wife sitting there. It's funny, my bottom shelf, I've got actually, when you start getting a backlog, you know you got a problem because they're not cheap to buy either.
I think you should, put little videos together about how the heck you're actually gonna display all this stuff between all the shelves or bookcases or whatever you're gonna end up
Yeah,
doing, like
you haven't seen the display I've got in my living room.
no, I haven't.
Yeah, I've got a full display in the living room. And I got another shelf that I haven't put up that's like almost 4.5 feet long. I've got my display here that it's basically it's gonna be retired Legos. So if they're not on the main display in the living room, they'll be back here. Unless they're my Star Wars helmets, which are sitting in front of me. You guys can't see. So I've got quite a, yeah, that's not a bad idea. Just kind of go through like, this is my setup. This is what I've kind of done. I like
Yeah,
that idea.
catch people up on it. I think maybe we could do some, videos on some summer grilling recipes too. Who knows? Well, we're gonna do a little bit of everything because that's what we are, man. We talk about the pop culture that's going on, but we also talk about family and dad stuff, and all that's, it's Dad and Rock. That's who we are.
There we go. And if you
Um,
guys haven't already, hit that like, hit that subscribe. If you're listening to this, make sure you go ahead and subscribe to the show. Go ahead and give us a good rating. Go ahead and give us a comment. A nice comment on whatever platform you're listening to us. I think we're on a lot of them. I can't even keep track anymore, honestly. But thanks for listening. I mean, I think that's all we got this week. And check us out next week for the actual summer blockbuster episode.
Yeah, until next time,
Uh,
what do you always say? What's their Dadnarok catchphrase?
I used to be on doing cruising to the cheesy, but that doesn't fit here. Um,
That's what I was wanting.
no, it's cruising to the cheesy.
Yeah.
Okay, well, cruising to the cheesy.
Let's see ya.
See ya.